Hey guys, good morning. It's Lexi, and I'm just gonna hop on here real quick and give you guys a quick tour of my Interest Center poster board. Alright, so I did my Interest Center over acrylic paints. Acrylic paints are absolutely my favorite type of paint because of the versatility that comes along with them. And that's definitely what I wanted to highlight in my Interest Center board and give the kids a chance to explore is the way in which acrylic paints can be used in so many different manners. So for this, I definitely shied away from just the brush and paint on a canvas type of method. I wanted the kids to be able to explore different media. I wanted my activities to be very directed, yet at the same time give the students a lot of freedom to express themselves. There's a lot of choice within each activity, which I'll get into more when I start discussing the activities. The grade level that I chose for my poster board, there's a little bit of a range. I think that this would be appropriate for 3rd to 5th grade. My instructions are quite meticulous, as well as the stuff that you have to do throughout each activity. It's not hard per se. They're all quite simple, but the way in which I worded it to explain how to do each activity, excuse me, I use a lot of vocabulary and instruction that probably isn't quite doable or beneficial slash I don't know what the word is. Just it's not appropriate or usable for grades younger than I at least pick 3, because there's just words that as a self-guided activity, if my students were just doing this on their own, exploring different methods of using acrylics, I think that younger grades would have quite a hard time even just reading the instructions, as well as the steps themselves can be, they require a lot of fine motor skills, I think is probably how I would say it. A lot of them are very small, guided. I'm even giving the students smaller paper, which I think with younger grades having a larger space is much more appropriate. If that makes sense. I think that these activities are a lot more controlled. So that's why I chose 3rd to 5th grade. So yeah, let's get into it. So, sorry, I'm just chilling on my bedroom floor right now, and wearing pajamas, so that's why I'm not on the screen. All right, so I did make your marks with acrylics. I tried to include a lot of color in my board. Honestly, I'm not quite happy with the negative space up here. I think that I could have done something to improve there, but I had worked many hours on it, and I don't know, I might add something though and put a little updated picture just for the kids to see more examples maybe of techniques with acrylics. So yes, I said make your mark with acrylics, and that's all painted with acrylics. I just really wanted to go hog wild with the paint there. just another way to show them that we can, splatter with acrylics and smudge with acrylics and just go crazy with them. So, activity 1, I'll just read the instructions and then kind of explain what I did in my example, and then just kind of explain how this would work with the students. So activity 1 is a scrape background. So I have my materials here, my example here, and my activity. Actually, okay, there was some little extra gift cards. I don't know where maybe they fell out. I don't know where they went. I'll have to find those. But activity 1 says, step 1, collect the following supplies from the materials folder below: a 6x6 square, a flat edge card. Step 2, choose your colors. Grab 3 acrylic colors from the options below. Okay, and also I don't have this shown here, but I plan on putting like small like tissue box size crates with paint at each station, with multiple color options. So they're going to grab 3 acrylic colors from the options below. Step 3 is, when ready, place 3 dime-sized dots of each color on your paper, and that is going to be 9 small dots. So I wanted to have that little bit of just reassurance, because I know that in self-guided activities, let's say I wasn't there and they had a question, I don't know, sometimes I think 3 dime-sized dots of each color, they might think like 3 dots or something, so, you know, I clarified that. Once your dots are placed, take your flat edge card and hold it so that the edge is on the paper. So this is kind of guiding them into that technique of, I am going to put my card on the paper this way. Let the scraping begin. So slide your flat edge across the painting to spread out the paint in any way you desire. And this is where the exploration really comes in. I said, have fun, be you. The possibilities are endless. You can scrape in any direction you want, up, down, side to side. You can scrape the dots in any order you want, one at a time, all at once. You can blend or keep the colors separate. It's all up to you. So I wanted to really explain to them that there is a lot of versatility even in a single method as well. So again, very direct instructions, yet leaving a lot of room for creativity and exploration. Here's my example. So I chose red, yellow, and purple. The lighting here is not the greatest, but yes. So sorry, brain fart. So yes, this is my example here. I wanted to use many different colors, contrasting colors, just, step outside the box. I demonstrated, short strokes, long strokes, wavy ones, in every direction, diagonal, up and down, just so they can see. And in the scrape background materials, there should be gift cards as well as the squares that are in there now. All right, so activity 2 kind of goes along with the theme of make your mark. So I thought that this activity was something that could be really, I think that this could be used with younger grades if the instructions were a little bit more simple, I think, for self-guided instruction. But this activity reads, collect the following supplies from the materials below. A sheet of your choice of colored paper, 3 objects of your choice from the object box below, a paper plate. Choose your colors. Grab 2 acrylic colors from the options below. Pour a quarter size amount of each of your colors onto the paper plate. Start with one of your chosen objects. Dip your object into the paint. Remember, the part you dip is what you will be putting on your paper. I don't know why it put a nice little gap there in my typing, but you are now ready to make your mark. Place the part of the object that you dipped onto the paper. You can transfer the paint from the object in many different ways. You can stamp it, you can use the object like a paintbrush. Be you and never be scared to try new things. So again, if I'm not there and they were doing this completely self-guided, I still want to have that encouragement, and not just these are activities, but I think it's really important to build that positive relationship with your students, but also just encourage them to try new things, that it is okay if they mess up, that it's not meant to be clean, but that they're just exploring making their mark with different objects and different colors of paint. Another thing that I think makes it a little bit for older grades is, they are getting these supplies and putting them on their paper plates themselves, on their paper themselves. And even when I say a quarter size amount, I don't think in kindergarten I would have known what a quarter size amount was. So again, just little things like that in my instructions make it a little bit more tuned to older grades. All right, so in my examples, I used, so, everyone is at a toilet paper shortage right now, so I don't have any extra toilet paper tubes, so I just rolled up a paper meant to represent a toilet paper tube. So I have this here is my stamp in orange paint with my toilet paper tube, my rolled up piece of paper. This is paper clip right here. And you can make as many marks as you want. That's why I just left it up to them that they can use it in many different ways. Maybe I could say like make 4 with an object, so then they're not going on forever, because it is more of a jump to each station type of thing. And then here I actually use some thick yarn, shown down here. Also, this mark making materials folder is not thick enough for the actual materials for this object, so I ripped it trying to put stuff in there. Again, I plan to have a box below. I only have a couple objects in there right now. There's a paper clip in there, the rolled up sheet of paper, yarn, crumpled up napkin. Now I know it seems like garbage, but I also think it's a really great way to show kids that you can use many different media for art, and even if you don't have paintbrushes or supplies that are traditional art supplies, that art can still be accessible to you. So I think there's some underlying ideas in each of these activities that are also a really great way to influence this idea in students that art is everywhere and that art is my own and I can be creative and I can use things around the house. None of these require a paintbrush. I did use, here, moving on to, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself, so I'll explain the paintbrush thing in a second. For this one, I used two objects. I meant to use three objects, but I used two objects. I used the top of a calamine lotion bottle because I got poison ivy and it was accessible to me at the time. So that's the purple and kind of blue tie-dye look. And then this yellow here is just a crumpled up napkin. And I actually really like how they turned out. Obviously some people might look at them and say that they're not art, but I had a really fun time creating them, and I think that the exploration part of this activity is really strong because I mean, I plan on bringing in a box of different objects. Again, I don't have them with me now through this tour, but I mean, even forks and I don't even know. I mean, you can really make a mark on paper and paint with anything. I mean, they can dip their toes in it for all I care. But for the sake of this, I want my objects to be a little bit more easy to clean, so maybe not toes. Okay, well anyways, activity 3. I do have a paintbrush here, but you don't need a paintbrush, so I'll explain this activity. Activity 3 says collect the following supplies. You will not regret it. A sheet of white cardstock, a paintbrush, a dropper, a dish of water, and 2 acrylic paints of your choice. Step 2, place 2 quarter-size amounts of each color on the cardstock. Add 15 drops of water to the acrylic paint. Come get 4 drops of rubbing alcohol from the teacher. Now for the fun part, take your paintbrush you collected earlier and begin swirling your paint, water, and alcohol mixture all over the paper to create a marbled design. This one is definitely, I think, for higher grade level because, one, we are using alcohol. I do not want small children sticking their hands and rubbing alcohol trying to do art. So, also, I did make sure that even with these grades that they're coming to a teacher or to an adult to get these drops of rubbing alcohol because just, I don't know, kids put stuff in their mouths just for safety measures. I just don't, gotta keep the chemicals contained. So yeah, fun fact about my example here is, so I use yellow and purple, and I actually really like how it turned out, but I did not have alcohol because amidst the pandemic going on, there are no cleaning supplies, hand sanitizer, alcohol, toilet paper, anything right now in the stores. So I was forced to use what I had because I had already come up with the activity instructions and idea long before I actually made the examples. So I have 2 different color paints and water, and I swirled them together. And you know what? It still does that marbled effect. So I think that if you couldn't do alcohol marbling, you could do something like this with younger grades if you didn't want to include the alcohol, because it still does give you that marbled effect. Again, you don't really need a paintbrush. I use the end of the paintbrush to swirl it around. You could use Q-tips. Again, if you don't use alcohol, students can use their fingers if you're willing to, supply the cleanup. Maybe provide those Lacey Bowman coined wet nap DIY action in there. So yeah, so that's my last activity. And again, my brain is fried right now. I'm kind of going everywhere. something that I really enjoyed making about these activities that I did point out earlier is that they are guided, like they are doable independently. They're definitely for older grades just because of the vocabulary, there is a little bit of meticulousness, if that's a word, to each step of each activity. But I really love that through the guidedness, I was still able to make it where my students could be creative. And as I don't know if everyone's watching this or just Lacey, but I think most of everybody knows that I'm a really big fan of individualism. So like I really want my students to be able to make their art their own. And it makes me sad that many people didn't get that opportunity to make their art their own. And so what I like about these activities is the techniques are described, but the products that the students make are all going to be so different. And that's really what I'm highlighting with this acrylics is like make your mark. Make it individual, make it your own. And I think acrylics are really great for that. So yeah, here I'll give a little kind of overview, just a little, because I was moving around the whole time. Little pockets. Yeah, again, I think what I'm gonna do, what I would have done in the future, that I would critique on my own piece is that maybe just doing like acrylic art techniques and just having like different ones all over these little areas, just small little, maybe like a cutie, like little orange sized blotches of different techniques that you can use with acrylics, but or maybe like artists who used acrylics, just something to tie it into just the whole idea of this versatility of acrylics. So yeah, this video is oh look, my cat's outside. Bobo. All right, have a great day. Thank you for coming to my tour of my art interest center. It's awful you can't see the whole thing at once. Yes. All right. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye-bye.